For hole 1, we are going to be playing to the left side. You can use any driver of your choosing. We're going to do about 6 topspin with no left or right spin. If you're using an APOC, you're going to have the blue ring by the rough on the left, just touching, and then over adjust your shot with a plus 10% over adjustment, and then just hit the ball straight. For the second shot, we are doing the rough bump. You're going to use around 4 bars of topspin with 2 bars of left spin. This spin might vary depending on where you are at on the fairway. You are then going to aim your ball guide going through the hole substantially and just to the right of the pin, I believe. You are then going to over adjust your shot with a 0% elevation, and I have slider percentages for you at the end of this clip. You will then, if you need to, do 2.5% plus or minus the yardage per yard that you are below or above your drive. So we do have some slider percentages for you, but just know it'll be 2.5% per yard plus or minus. For hole 2, we are using a P4 ball. You can use a Kingmaker if you choose, but a P4 ball just makes it easier. I have 2 drives for you, one with an APOC and one with a Thor. With an APOC, you are going to start at the 18-yard mark with the red ring touching the rough. If you have an APOC 7, you're going to be slightly into the rough. You're then going to over adjust your shot with a plus 10% over adjustment, 4 bars of right spin and 3 bars of top spin. You're going to use over a ball, about 3/4 of a ball of curl and about 3 rings of overpower. Be careful, because in a tailwind you won't need to use that much overpower, but there is more of a side wind as well where you will need to use a little bit more overpower. For the second shot, we are using the Cataclysm or Big Dog if you don't have a Cataclysm that is good enough. You're going to basically adjust your shot with a max distance with a plus 30%. I found that having 2 bars of top spin and 1 bar of left spin is actually pretty good, and then you're going to use slight overpower. No matter where you are at, and when you adjust into overpower, you will have to use a good amount of overpower to get you over that rough line. So here I adjusted with a plus 30% over adjustment and then used about 2 rings of overpower. If you don't have an APOC and you only have a Thor's Hammer, this can be done with the Thor's Hammer 5 as well. So you're going to use a P4 as well. You're going to do max side spin and about 6 bars of top spin. Here she started at the plus 8 mark, but you want to start at the plus 7-yard mark because she almost went into the rough. So again, start at the plus 7-yard mark with your red ring touching the rough. Over adjust your shot with a plus 10% over adjustment at max distance, and then you're going to give yourself a little bit of overpower and a little bit of curl. For hole 3, we're working on a Kingmaker approach for those that don't have wind balls. I believe if you have a wind ball, it's going to be playing at 15% max instead of 20 max, but I'm not for sure on that. So here we are putting the blue ring by the rough, 4 backspin, 4 right spin, and then we're going to be at the end of the plus 4-yard mark before it turns into plus 5. You are then going to over adjust your shot with a plus 20% over adjustment at max distance, favoring an 11:59 pull angle, Here I might have pulled too much, and that's why it came into the right. The second option is with your quarterback. You're going to use a Wind 5 Power 0 side spin 3 ball. You're going to use max side spin to the right and 1 top spin. You are then going to have your ball guide going to the hole and just barely going into the hole, I believe. So have your ball guide going to the hole, max right spin, 1 top spin, and then adjust your shot with a 0% elevation. So it's going to be min distance at 0%. Again, it's min, M-I-N, distance at 0% elevation. It also looks like that your yellow ring is going to be touching the bunker on the right hand side. For hole 4, we are doing the APOC blast shot. If you would like to do the Thor hook, the link to Katie's channel who is doing the Thor hook is in the description below. The aim spot for my drive here is just where my second bounce is going over the rough line. I did too much topspin here, and you will see why in a second. I adjust my shot at a 0% elevation at max distance and then push up to max. I then do about a triangle of curl to where there is just a little bit of gap from the triangle. If you do a 10% elevation from that aim spot, you will only be doing a half of ball of curl instead of a triangle. You will clip the rough on the left if you do a full curl shot. There are two types of wind angles on this hole. There's a side wind and a tailwind. In a side wind, you're going to have to use around 6 bars of topspin, and in a tailwind, around 5 bars of topspin. Same aim spot, same curl. To figure out if it's a side or a tail is when you do your adjustment, if you go back down towards like the 15-yard mark of your ball, that means you're in a tailwind. If you're around the 18 to 20-yard mark, that means it's a side wind. So adjust your spin accordingly. 6 topspin for a side and 5 topspin for a tail. If you have an APOC 5 and you have a side wind, I suggest you use a globe ball if your wind is around 9 miles an hour. For hole 5, we are trying to dial in a sniper shot. There is two wind angles on this hole. There is a tail and a side. This one was the tailwind. Now, the one with the side, you're going to use 4.2 back and 6 bars of right spin and aim your ball basically at the hole, just short of the hole. And then you're going to over adjust your shot at 0% elevation at mid distance of your club. Here we think with the tailwind that you're actually going to have to go max right spin, but this is unconfirmed as of yet, and we hope to have this dialed in hopefully by the opening round. We do know that multiple drops have been made with the side wind with 4.2 back and 6 bars of right spin, aiming your ball guide at the hole. Again, this is being played at 0% mid distance of your club. Here are the two wind angles. This wind angle we think should have played at max right spin, and this next one is the more side wind, and this one is played at 6 right spin. For hole 6, we are playing the APOC hook. You're going to do max top spin, as much right spin as you can. Your blue ring is going to be touching the bottom bunker. From here, you are going to count 11 rings. So again, blue ring touching the bunker on the bottom, and then adjust your shot 11 rings, and then you're going to do a full overpower curl slice hook thing. You will also do the same shot with a APOC 1, 2, 3, or 4, just use a power 4 ball and count 11 rings. I was experimenting on my drive and I went 15 rings accidentally, so this is my second shot. I didn't want to show you the drive because it was a complete mess up on my part. But here we are playing at min distance of our sniper, so the drive before will get you into min distance of your sniper. We think that the elevation is actually plus 30%, where you don't have to offset your ball guide. You will have to have your ball guide going through the hole, so be wary of that, but we do believe it's going to be playing at min sniper with a plus 30% elevation. For hole 7, we are still trying to dial in the Kingmaker option. You're going to be playing at 65% slider of your club at 40% elevation. You're going to be using about 2 bars of backspin here and possibly 1 bar to the left. We are still uncertain of the spin. You are basically going to be aiming your ball guide 1 square to the left of the hole and then adjust your shot. So again, we are playing this shot at 65% slider at a 40% elevation. If you have wind balls to use, you are also going to be doing the same thing where you're going to be doing 65% club at 40% elevation. Here I did about 3 bars of backspin with max right spin on a P, like 2.5 basically right spin. I'm aiming my ball guide at the hole. What I should have done is probably played about 2.5 backspin because I did come up short, but it is on line with the hole, so I just came up short. So again, we're playing this at 65% slider with a 40% over adjustment of our shot. I did play with a power 2 in app on this as well. The Kingmaker is played with a power 3 in app. The next few videos I'm going to show you various ways you can play hole 8. Here we're using an APOC with a Titan if you don't feel like wasting a Zerk. You're going to do about 3 bars of right spin, and for a wind around 9 miles an hour, do about 4.5 to 5 bars of top spin. Adjust your shot with a 10% over adjustment, push up to max, and then you're going to use max overpower. If you don't have an APOC but you have a Thor's Hammer, you can use a Thor's Hammer with a Zerk. You're going to do about 2.5 to 3 bars of top spin with 2 to 3 bars of right spin. Over adjust your shot with a plus 10% over adjustment and then push up to max, and then you two will be using some overpower. Now if you're one of the lucky ones who has an APOC 5 or 6, you're just going to use a Zerk. Here I did too much right spin, so only do about 2 bars of right spin and 4.5 top spin for an 11.7 miles an hour wind. If your wind is around 9 miles an hour, I suggest going about 5 to 5.5. Over adjust your shot with a 10% over adjustment, push up to max, and then you're just going to take a normal shot. I shouldn't have curled the shot either. So you can use a little bit of curl, but you don't need to, and I hit a great right with curl to the right and too much right spin, so this almost was disastrous. So I would only use 2 bars of right spin and probably eliminate the curl as well. For hole 9, you're going to be using your APOC or any driver. You can use the Thor's hammer too. We like to use the Kingmaker. Full top spin, 3 bars of right spin, over adjust your shot with a plus 10% over adjustment, and then push up to max. Now, there are 2 types of winds on hole 9 too. There is a straight, like a tailwind, and there is a side wind as well. If you get the tailwind, your ball is going to go further, and we don't want it to necessarily go further. So here you are going to back off your overpower as well so that you can get into sniper range without being in min sniper range and not being able to adjust your shot. So again, just back off your overpower if you are using an APOC. If you're using a Thor's hammer, I would back off the top spin if you have a straight wind. So for the second shot, we are playing this at a minus 10% elevation. And here, since he was still within the numbers of his club, he used max numbers for his sniper at a minus 10% elevation with a little bit of backspin and a little bit of left spin, and then pulled at a 1201 pull angle. So we believe that you should be pulling this at a 1201 pull angle. This shot, along with all the others, can be found on the 19th Hole Expert Tournament page, and the link will be in the description below. Here are the 2 wind angles for hole 9. The straighter wind will go farther. So again, guys, good luck on qualifying. We will update as much as possible throughout the week. I will hopefully put out another video as well. And remember, hit perfect and happy golfing.